Dre, what was it about it that made you believe in it so strongly to where you with it now to where you're taking it on a higher level? What made you believe in it so strong?
Well, it got a great foundation. You know what I mean? The concept.
How, Dre? We talking about killing, robbing, raping.
Well, at that time, that's what was pushed. But it was a plan from the government in the first place.
Talk about it, yeah.
When they push the drugs in the neighborhood, you're getting fascinated with the money. You get the money and the power. You begin, like he said, he started talking about pimping, but we was on that money, mac, and murder. That's what it was all about.
Yeah, I remember that. That was the saying. You heard that, bud?
Oh man, I was double Chris.
Hey, I'm asking the wrong person. My bad. Okay, yeah.
But with that being said, it's like that when you started the life. Matter of fact, right down the street on 125th is where we was.
Right down the street.
Yeah, right here on Superior. Yeah.
Hold on, yeah. Dre. Did y'all clash with the Black Power guys? What we call them? What we call them guys? The dude on them freedom fight. The revolutionaries, the Black revolutionaries.
No, at that
because
time,
they was trying to clean up things.
Yeah, well, except there.
Except there.
At that
they
time,
couldn't clean up all the areas, so now we getting the word straight.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, at that time you had Alpha, you had the GDs, you had the ones that we was most dominant down there. You know what I mean? So we had our way, and not just in that neighborhood. We worldwide.
Yeah.
With that being said, but we was negatively influenced. So we was doing the wrong thing. So I want to really redirect it. You know what I'm saying? It was never meant to be what we was. It was because of our ignorance that took us that direction. You know what I mean?
When did you start to realize this and start to do self-reflection and make adjustments?
Well, it took me 19 years. I tell people all the time, I had 19 years of insanity.
Huh? Telling it like it is.
19 years of, God be the glory. I did juvenile. I ain't never go to jail as an adult.
You think that helped you? You think that might have saved you a little bit?
Well, you know what? I know every step of of a good man is ordered by him. So with that being said, he had a plan for me, and because of who I am now, I couldn't have a felony. You know what I mean? I'm a founder of Civilians Against Violence. I'm a pastor of City of Life. I'm a boxing coach. You know what I mean? I'm a USCCA firearm instructor. So the things that I got going on, I couldn't have a felony. So God was good to me. Yeah. But at the same token, we need to put clarity out there for the young folk.
Yeah.
Because when it came to the Gangster Disciple, even before a lot of people was born, the concept from the chief of it was always positive. It was just the way we took it.
I want to get in that. What is the founding concept? And Dre, maybe you can speak to that also. The founding concepts of the Gangster Disciples, because like you say, it was for the good. So.
Well, just like the Black Panthers. Everything, this was birthed in Chicago. Everything was, for the community. You know what I mean? So when they became...
Let's get that straight.
Everything was for the community. They was feeding the community, policing their community. Just like with Civilians Against Violence, we try to police the community.
Is that right?
We police the police. Yeah. So we to make sure you do right.
No, he just said something real powerful. Police the police. Yeah. Some of y'all say police the holies. I don't know, but okay.
Yeah, but to do that, because you got to protect your own.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So when you a real, for lack of words, everybody's talk gangster, but when you truly a gangster, you let people know that your community is important to you.
Huh?
So, a lot of times though we just went the wrong direction. So I really, even now I talk to multiple people. I just want to, you got to clear that up. Gangster Disciple was a way of life because that's all we had. But at the same token, it wasn't the principles that we supposed to live by.
Drake, honestly, candidly, was we scared straight? Did we see that event that said, you know what, I'm gonna be a pastor now?
Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. No, because quiet as kept. You know what I'm saying? When I look back,
I'm just, hey.
Hey, it's like this, you know. I had my way.
Okay.
You know what I mean? You know, but my brother was locked up. My cousin was locked up. All my friends was dying. You know, I had a calling on my life. You know what I'm saying? So with that calling, God had his hand on me. So I was still out here in the streets. I'd be on the block. I'd be doing everything. Sunday, I'd go to church.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah. I had my drugs outside.
Yeah, but no, he tried to interject.
Jay-Z
He tried to he tried.
He felt that.
Listen here, Jay. All that Marcy project. Hold on for a minute.
Okay. You know, I used to literally put my drugs outside the church until I come back out of service.
Come on, Dre. I'm trying to fathom that. I'm really, cause I hear that. That sounds like something like you know. So you would do your thing, stash, and go into the church.
Go into the church.
How did you reconcile that when you got into church? Cause you know, cause when you're living in a life, sometimes you like think like, dang, what am I doing? Am I killing my people? So how did you reconcile that?
Well, basically, you know, one thing about ignorance, they don't know it's ignorant until the light is seen. So hindsight, you know, it wasn't that I seen the problem. He awakened. You know what I mean? So when you get awakened, you see better and you can see clearly. But then I still see how his hand was on me, you know, because while I'm out here doing my thing, he gave me a conscience to be aware that I'm doing wrong. You know what I mean? Even
can't be mad at a man for that.
Yeah, even, you know, the Bible said, Paul said, I knew not the law. I knew not sin until I knew the law. So once you learned the laws of life, that's when you know which error you had. But until then, you don't know your error. You're just doing what you think is right. You know what I mean? Right. You know, the scripture also says, he said that it seems right unto a man, but the end is destruction.
Oh,
you know,
man,
so with that, so with that being said, you know.
It seems right on to a man, but in the end it's destruction.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good one right there.
So, you know, like I said, we was just living, you know, we was living around the product of our community. You know, but it was totally wrong, you know. And I do want to say for the audience, you know, the young folk, you know, it was never the direction that we was going. OGs need to apologize to these young boys and the way they raised them. You know what I mean?
When the fellas come into into your faith organization seeking guidance, do you feel like you qualified to reach them because of your experience?
Absolutely. I wasn't born in seminary. I wasn't, you know what I mean, with no silver spoon in my mouth. You know, when I got saved, I was listening to Tupac, Unconditionally Loved.
Yeah.
I was smoking water. I was drinking Moet in a cart, and that's when I had my experience.
Wow. Yeah, see, that's what I was getting around to. Y'all thought I was tripping, you know? And so you had this experience and you figure you make a change in your life.
Yeah. Matter of fact, it kind of bum rushed me. You know, I wasn't expecting a change. I was trying to get high. I couldn't. You know what I'm saying? But I guess the words through Tupac talking about love, that's what we all search for. Everything a person out here doing is because they want to be loved in some type of form or fashion.
So when did we start saying we started concentrating more on with the faith and, you know, stepping away from the street in that manner?
Well, it happened, like I said, it happened overnight. I was in the parking lot getting high.
Then, right there.
Yeah, right there. And the crazy thing is, because my mother and my family is faith-based.
Yeah,
it was a revival. That was on a Friday night. That Saturday, they was in revival. That Friday, that Saturday, and that Sunday. That Friday night it happened. That Saturday, that Sunday, I was in church.
Because, Dre, that's a new leaf. So what did your family think of this new leaf?
Well, family, some of them knew what it was. Friends was the ones that were the problem. They thought I was tripping. You know what I mean? He crazy. He gone off the wall.
Did they try to pull you back? Yeah, hit this, Dre. You tripping, man.
That's the only time you get free high. You know what I mean? You know, when you make a stand and say you quit, you know, they show up now. Now you want to give me what you should have gave me when I was trying to get high. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. When I was trying to hustle. You know, I want to get legit. I asked you, hey, let me borrow $300 to next week. You want to give me some dope instead of, you know what I mean? But where was that when I was out there?
Is it a conscious thing that we go after the brothers since we didn't found this faith? and we found a way to go. Do we go after
Well,
the brothers?
well, you know what? We look at it like this. We plant seeds. So like doing stuff like this. You know what I mean? You know, we believe if you know, he add to it daily. So even in the community, we don't solicit people. You know, God sent them to you.
Right.
And then they see you. And when they see you out here, you know, instead of trying to preach to them, I let my lifestyle speak. You know what I mean? So,
Demetrius, you know, you say you've known Coach Dre for a minute. What do you think of the growth and maturation?
Well, I knew Dre since young. He was on Page and Wymore. I was right down the street on Northfield.
Okay.
And I was in school with his brother. His brother used to look out for me. The first time I walked into his church, I was mentoring children at another nonprofit organization.
You knew it was his church? I'm going there. I'm going to see what Dre talking about.
Right.
Okay.
Dre.
Okay, yeah. Dre got the church. I'm going to see what he talking about.
So I walk in, because I had visited him once before, but I was still drinking and in the streets. And I didn't want to disrespect him because he changed his life.
Okay.
I did.
Okay.
This August will be 9 years I've changed my life.
Congratulations.
And he's helped me stay on that path. But when I walked in there, I sat on to the side in the back. And I heard him speak. And I said, this can't be him.
Me and Dre used to hit it. We used to go back and forth.
And he touched me. He used the Bible, not with all that, and all that.
Yeah.
He made it real.
For real.
Why? Because you knew him?
No. That's why I used to tell people, you need to hear this. Because he took 2,000-year-old manuscripts and made it relevant to today. How,
Yeah.
if the Bible is not if you just read it and it's not helping you, if you feel like you want to cut your wrist and you can't read a scripture and understand it to the point where, okay, it's helping me. He showed me how it's relevant that when I get into my rut or I just feel like I'm too tired, he brought into reality that, okay, listen to this. And he doesn't have to practice it. He lives it every day.
Yeah.
He gives of himself daily. Just like the word says, you have to die daily of your own, whatever it is that you have going on in your mind. He's for the people. So the Civilians Against Violence, without the name, it's him. He goes out into the community, and it makes me want to go out and just, when I go to the store, stop and talk to the guys and say, hey man, you blessed. Or stop and talk to the guys and give out the socks or the blankets to the homeless. And don't just, here you go, talk to them. Pray with them.
Hold on, Mr. Belcher. Are we talking to them gangsters, though?
Yes.
You know, we got it in the waistband. We really ain't trying to hear what you got to say, sir.
Well, that's an easy thing. Because the other people who try to talk to the gangsters, scared of them. I ain't scared of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
They see me and they say, hey, what's up?
Yeah.
My nickname Goldie.
Okay.
So that when I go to the hood, I'm respected.
Okay.
So when I talk to them and I say, let me tell you something. You done seen me out here. Yeah, I remember you. But you see, I changed. I take care of my family. I work. The things I wear and the car I drive is from hard work. It may take you some time, but I don't have to look over my shoulder. I don't have to worry about getting a bullet in me. I already got shot once. I don't need to get a reminder.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, talking to the gangsters, talking to the young people, it feels good. So when they tell a story, you can back it up with yours.
That's right.
Oh yeah, for real. Well, I remember going on Hayden, hitting the back window, unlocking it, and taking the car for a 3-day drive.
Let me hold this for a second.
That was a big thing.
Hey, hold that thought, y'all. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with Civilians Against Violence, City of Life, Coach Andre Dodson, and Mr. Demetrius Belcher. Player T, that's me, Hollywood in the hood.